Canadian twins Dean and Dan Caten are the dynamic duo behind Italian fashion label DSquared, which celebrates its 20th anniversary this week. In order to pursue their fashion dreams, Dean and Dan ventured far from the suburbs of their native Toronto, eventually moving to Milan where they set up DSquared. Today, the brand turns over more than 200 million euros and has expanded to include men's, women's, accessories, children's, eyewear, and fragrance businesses, and even a restaurant. DSquared is now set for a rapid global retail expansion, online and off. In an exclusive interview at their home in London's Notting Hill just days before a retrospective fashion show, the business of fashion goes inside DSquared to learn about Dean and Dan's ups and downs over the last 20 years, the lessons they have learned, and their plans for the future. Hi guys.
Hey.
It's a pleasure to sit down with you today to talk about your fashion adventure. How does it feel to be here marking your 20th anniversary? That's a really big number.
I think we consider ourselves very fortunate to have hung around for 20 years. When, so many people that started at the same time as us, aren't around anymore. And it's a tough business. Nobody's welcoming anybody. So I guess we're good at kicking and screaming, scratching.
We're proud. We're proud that we've done what we wanted to do. We've arrived to a certain point in our careers, and things are actually just kind of falling into place right now.
But things at the beginning, they weren't always easy, right? You've spoken in the past about having grown up in Toronto and feeling a little bit out of place. How has that whole experience in your earliest years back in Toronto, in Willowdale, which is a suburb of Toronto, how did that experience shape you?
Well, I think, growing up a little challenged with money, challenged with fashion for sure, made us want things more, we wanted fashion that we couldn't obtain. We wanted success that was not in our neighborhood.
It gives you more ambition, it gives you fire.
And I think, maybe not having is the reason we work harder to have. And it's definitely a good push.
It also gives you appreciation too. If you don't have something, you appreciate it more. You work hard for it, you appreciate it more, and it's more fulfilling.
Right. So, looking back at your story this past few days as I've been researching Dean and Dan, it seems to me like your first big break came after you left Parsons. You went to this summer school program, and you moved back to Toronto and you started designing for Ports International, which a lot of people don't know that brand, but growing up in Canada, that was something that everybody saw in all the shopping malls everywhere. As a designer, or as designers starting out, I often tell my own students, well, you should go design for somebody else first. What did you learn from that experience at Ports?
Well, I think you said it best. It's always better to work for someone else and to learn. To learn you can. And then my boss used to say, make your mistakes on my money, because when you're ready, you've already made the mistakes that you.
And that was
silly
6
mistakes.
years of everyday, real situation training from factories in Hong Kong. It was
to selling the collection.
He made us do it. He was amazing, Mr. Luke Tanabe. He saw us. He saw our taste level. And everyone said, "You're crazy. They're 19 years old. They have no school." And he said, "Those two boys have taste, and there's no school in the world that can teach anybody that."
And so he took a big risk with, hiring us. And the first day when he hired us, he said, "You know what? If you come bring me coffee in the morning, that's a help. If you turn the company upside down, that's a bigger help.
Do what you can do."
And then in 6 months, we were in Hong Kong,
First class to Hong Kong,
fitting the whole
First
collection.
ever
And we did like a flip on the collection. And all of a sudden, then people started noticing the brand more.
Sales went up 25%.
Sales went up. We started getting covers and stuff. And all of a sudden, the brand kind of had a new face. And then people were curious about why the brand had a new face. And then some stuff started coming out about us and stuff. And then actually, we kind of became a little bit almost famous in our own small little realm of Canada. And it kind of shocked us. We said, you know what, that wasn't that difficult. And so maybe there's a formula here, you know, something that we've done here. Let's just try to take our same will and our same formula and put it on a bigger scale.
It was also a key point when you sold the company. It was our cue. We've done 6 years. People do 4 years in a school. We've been 6 years of hands-on training, and we didn't really feel like we don't come with the company, and it was our clue to move on and to go to Europe and to follow our dreams.
At some point, you sat back, the two of you, and you said, okay, now's the time. It was 30.
Yeah, we reached our 30th birthday and we said, oh my God, what are we doing? We were designing for our big company when we were 19, now we're 30, and we're working in clubs, and we're looking at some of our other peers and said, I don't want to be that person in 5 years, so let's get back on track and, you know, get to doing what we really came to do. And we just said, how much money do we have saved, and let's put it all together and let's just go for it.
What was it like? Do you go back to that first show 20 years ago? What was that show like? What was that moment like?
Well, it was our homesick
I mean,
collection. It was all the guys came out of sort of the forest, these green trees, and long underwear, and opera music, and
big check plaids and big Canadian-looking sweaters and stuff. It was a very tribute of who we are. You know, I think what we tried to do also is to really attach ourselves to our Canadian roots and to, you know, what we are and what makes us different in that industry. And we kind of tapped into that and we kind of ran with it. I mean, I think the thing that was really quite simple about that, it was a very tiny collection. It was a little capsule, it was 30 pieces. So any store could, you know, take a small order and it would make a nice package, you know. It was complete and it was packaged.
It was really edited.
Yeah, so, you know, you had this one little stand and it was
one nylon, one cotton, one
complete.
Right.
So it wasn't a big risk for people to buy it.
and things were cute.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I wanted to touch upon, you know, I was going back through the history of your brand, and one of the things that comes up, of course, is music and celebrity. Going back, way back to 2000 and Madonna. But then, in very rapid succession, you know, Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, Rihanna. There's a lot of discussion in the world about the role of celebrities, but, you know, your brand seems particularly interesting one to examine, because I think, at least from my observation, without celebrity, the profile, you know, for a small business, you know, based in Milan that was, you know, at the very early stages of development, it really helped to break you guys out into the global mainstream.
Definitely. I mean, I definitely think, and even starting with Madonna, I mean, she was the first celebrity that we really worked with. And then just the idea about her acknowledging, you know, and kind of showing to the world, oh, this is a cool new brand.
She loves to be first.
Yeah.
And she comes with that stamp of approval. If Madonna thinks you're cool, the whole world wakes up.
And thinks you know, or starts to look, you know. And so, in fact, after the first relationship we did, after the first video and stuff, and it was a Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
Don't Tell Me video. And
proceeded to the Drowning World
Tour,
which was the whole cowboy segment of the tour with 15 dancers, everyone in different outfits. It was great. It was a great learning experience.
And I think the thing too that was also funny about her is, I mean, the things that she was liking were the things from a men's collection, and we didn't do women's yet. And so they said, okay, we'll make them for her. And then we added a few things, the #1 T-shirt and stuff, that were like men's things adapted for women. And then after she started wearing things, it was just a season and a half later, 2 seasons, that we came out with women's.
Yeah.
The other people that really got behind you were the models. Can you talk a little bit about how that all happened?
Well, I think it happened because before, okay, this was also an intelligent move that we have done. Before we came out with a full women's collection, we said, let's because if we come out with a collection, then we have to tell the buyers, okay, we'll try it a little bit now, and then
prepare budget, and then we've wasted energy.
So they can have a taste, and they can buy it, and they
like
can
it, don't like it, prepare
working,
budget for
not
next
working.
season.
When we will be a full collection. So in those nine pieces, we wanted to shoot them in the campaign. So we were shooting Naomi.
We said with Stephen Klein, and Stephen Klein, why didn't you use Naomi? We're like, well, we have to
Amazing.
use Naomi, right?
So we used her for the campaign. We're shooting with her. We get along perfectly. It's a great shoot, wonderful. And they said, listen, babe, we're going to do a full
first
women's show. Next thing, would
love you
to open it for us? And she said, yeah, I'm down. And then so she said yes, and then she had signed something with the agent that she would do the show, and then the agent showed the other agents, and because she was willing to do it for a young designer budget, she got all the other girls to kind of fall in, and then everybody's saying, "Well, this is the show to do."
In Milan, the
and
first
we,
one
you know,
off, and we had this casting of over 750,000 euros, which naturally we didn't have that money at the time.
so girls were coming in. We had the number.
Well, you don't want me? Honey, I can't afford you. I'm come over. Give me a pair of jeans. I'm coming in 5
Who
minutes.
said that?
Carolina Kokova.
Wow.
She was the last one to fall in. It was great. I mean, it was probably a moment for us that it was like super. It was like a
hard to repeat.
But you know what was really cute about that too? I mean, the thing that was cool, and I think maybe the girls feel cool. We said, come in, pick your outfit. We had all the outfits on the wall.
What works for you,
what would you
want
like?
to.
Right.
And then it was kind of cute because they were loving the collection, they were loving the pieces, and that also made us feel really positive about they would be our ideal target person. And it kind of just was worked out into this amazing energy of positivity and fun.
Also, because the theme was 24/7 star, they came out of a plane and we had fans rush in underneath the plane with cameras screaming. So when Naomi comes out, they're all screaming for her name, taking pictures from there, and she's like, you need to have fans at every show. They give you such a big energy instead of a boring front row that doesn't even clap.
Right.
And then it was kind of like a walk off. It was funny because every girl was trying to outdo the other girl, and so it was like there's a lot of energy. It was probably one of the most memorable shows ever for that reason.
Sounds amazing. The rest is kind of history. So let's fast forward to today. You launch women's wear. You do the partnership with Renzo Rosso and Staff International. How does it all work now today? I mean, I think a lot of people are curious about the division of labor between the two. I mean, just the way the two of you are, you kind of complete each other's sentences. You're twins. And how? Give us an idea of how it actually works.
We're a package deal, so I think we are super in sync. So we kind of have an eye, if not completely together on everything. We'll bounce back on certain things that maybe because it's getting so much the workload that maybe he has to focus on running on.
I think from the beginning, in the beginning we were both doing things together, everything together, and I think now because we have more ground to cover, like maybe he'll be doing a women's fitting, I'll be doing a men's fitting at the same time, and then at the end of the day we just make notes. Like, this is what happened here.
We had one collection to do back in the day. Now we have like almost 15.
That's all the creative side of things, though. But what about the business side? Is there one of you that kind of takes the lead?
He's a little bit more patient with those kind of.
I try to stay on top of the business maybe more than just because I think also sometimes the business side sometimes is a little bit annoying and sometimes it's a little bit I wouldn't say it just kind of makes you lose your interest in the creativity part. So I think to not like to really dampen and damage your creativity, I think I can absorb things and take things in a certain way and then express them in another way. Sometimes meetings they're just like, I'm over it. And they talk forever to say one little thing. And I know he has zero patience and he won't get through one of those meetings. But I think
you can tell me in 15 minutes what it took them 3 hours to tell.
Pretty much.
When I think of DSquared, when growing up in Canada myself and first hearing about you guys, I think of like denim and like wacky slogans and really kind of in your face, right? And today, you're transformed into these elegant, tailored, it looks like Napoli style tailoring, with nice soft shoulders. And tell us about how the brand has changed over the years, because it feels like it's grown up a bit.
Well, I definitely think the evolution comes with time. I mean, when we started the company, we were young, we were in a kind of different kind of headspace, and things that we were doing. I mean, the company really reflects us and our lives. So, I mean, at that point in our time, we were still going to clubs, we were still going out, we were still partying, and we were in another kind of mood. I think as we mature and the parties start changing into dinners, and the dinners start changing into events and charity things, the wardrobe starts changing with it, and our expectations start changing. So I think always keeping ourselves in mind and tailoring to our own needs, the brand is kind of just matured as we matured in age.
And we still love the t-shirts and we love denim, but we're just broadening the
The public.
Public.
Actually, to see that transition in over the 20 years. So I mean, even we do the music for the shows, and it's something that we really get involved in and exciting. So we kind of want to do this sort of like retrospect from the collections and from the evolution of the mud jeans and the t-shirt and the fringe into the, you know, the Canada part, and into the dark part, and into the tailored part, and as it, you know, but you see a common denominator that's taking you still from that same denim muddy guy to the smart tailored guy at the end of the show.
You know, you've talked about this transformation of the brand over the years and adding all of these different collections. And you know, now you have, as you say, ready to wear, eyewear, fragrance, underwear, kids. A large proportion of your business is done through licensing partnerships. And I think it's the shoes, the bags, and the accessories that are done in-house. That's quite an interesting strategic decision to make in terms of how you work. Can you explain why you've decided to do some things in-house and some things external?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, everything was one master license. It was all in-house with staff. Except for the shoes, yes, you're right. And then we did another shoe license. We did a shoe license with Vicini.
I think from the very beginning, when we did the ready-to-wear with this small factory that we were involved with, they didn't have the know-how to produce shoes. So we went apart, and we saw the pros and cons of not everything being under the same umbrella. You know, it worked for us. So then, as we moved on, I can go in. We could pick which, you know, what thing. It's like a pizzeria or a restaurant. You do one thing, you do it great. This would be the pizzeria. And a restaurant, you have to do a lot of things great, and it's a lot harder to find. So we preferred to, in the cases where, you know, the perfume people, that have to be outside lines because they know the perfume. The shoe people have to be outside because it's completely different.
It gives you more variety. I mean, if you have to keep everything into one licensee, then you're dealing with their people. So now by taking it in-house, we can choose from whoever we want. You know, I have one great factory that makes jeweled women's shoes, and he just makes those. I have another factory that makes sneakers. I have another factory, and we can spread it all out. Normally when you have a licensee with one factory, you have to stay everything inside.
And some things they're not good at doing.
Let's look ahead a bit. I mean, you guys have had this. You have all these amazing stories. What do you wish for in 2015? What do you hope this year kind of represents for you and your business?
I don't know.
No, I mean, I think what we find about talking about even 20 years, I think what we're really experiencing now is that, you know what, now, just now, 20 years later, we're ready. Now we're ready. We have built our foundation. We have built our company. We're financially set in certain ways. We have everything kind of lined up. Now we have the machine. Now we need to start pumping her and making her run.
Make us happy for the future.
Doing the restaurant was kind of a new thing for us. I mean, the whole lifestyle of a brand and of us. And, you know, I mean, we're looking into doing a spa and a gym and...
who knows? Come along with
who knows?
that.
There's lots of comes along with hotels.
Just getting started.
Yeah, we've only just begun.
One last question, which is, you know, for all those young people who might be in a suburb similar to Willowdale, and they might be in Sydney, or they might be in, you know, in Sao Paulo, or they might be in, you know, in Hong Kong. You know, what advice?
Comes in one song. Climb every mountain. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, our theme. Energetic, positive.
From The Sound of Music, when little Maria was strayed.
And what does that song mean to you?
Well, it's
just go for it. I mean, I think the thing is, you know, it's really not where
follow every rainbow until you find your dream.
It's not where you come from, it's where you're going. So, I mean, we came from a little suburb, and, you know, we're kind of, everything kind of was against us. It's like, you know, how are you going to go from there to there? And our father was the first person to say that. And so we're like, you know what, we're just going to go there, and we're going to shoot for there. And then if we land over here, at least we tried to go over there. And I think the main thing what my advice would be to young people that really want to do something is to stick with it. You know, I think sometimes people give up too early. You know, I mean,
nothing comes from nothing. You've got to be prepared to have a lot of hard work. And I think you have to really, really, really want what you want to do. You can't just say,
I want to be a designer.
You know, a movie star.
Yeah.
You know, like...
It takes time.
Yeah.
Really, it's something that's grown inside us ever since we were this big. We've always thought fashion.
And I think we wanted it more than anything else, and I think that's the key.
Yeah. Well, as a Canadian and someone who grew up watching you guys, I want to congratulate you. I think it's a really exciting, happy moment for you, but also for everyone who's grown up as your fans. And I wish that 2015 brings you even more good things.